Report a shot fired at officers trying to stop the vehicle. We have one officer shot.
We got shots fired. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy, code red, shots fired.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the fairground.
And now it's Shots Fired with your hosts, TJ Kurgan and Dinah Death Milberg.
And welcome back to another episode of Shots Fired here on Real Talk 93.3. I am not your host, Sig Glockencolt, a.k.a. TJ Kurgan. I am Alex Dinah Death Milberg. I am here filling in for him today while he decided this weather sucks. I don't want to be in the cold, and he's in Florida where we all wish we were right now, probably sunbathing at this moment or fishing, so that's cool. And I'm here joined with Krystal once again, my assistant to the assistant host, and she's going to help me today, desperate need of it, well, psychologically, no, kidding. So we've got not much to talk about today, but I was going to go over some things. There really hasn't been much in the news of anything other than the 87th strain of COVID that seems to affect everyone, and it doesn't matter if you had 87 boosters and 5 vaccine shots, which I think is funny.
Yeah, I actually read a quote from an Israeli doctor, and, they've implemented it, the vaccine and the booster. And now they're on, I think, their second booster.
Yeah.
They've changed the definition from being fully vaccinated to as long as you've had the most recent one. And if you haven't, then you're not. Anyway, he mentioned how basically the current strain, it's basically a gift because it's like it's the most transmissible, but it's the least threatening.
Which, I mean, from my very, 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 very basic understanding of this, it'll continue to be multiple strands, but typically the more it mutates, the less effective and less nasty it is.
Well, yeah, that's herd immunity, baby.
Yeah, which basically now it isn't even the spicy cold. It seems to just replicate a cold.
No, it actually is. I was looking at some test results a friend of mine had posted because his brother had to get tested, but he did like the full test. Like it was, I forgot the name of it, but it showed like the details of every single thing that he tested positive for, and one of them was I wish I could remember the exact name of it. It was coronavirus ADE or something like that, which was literally listed as the common cold. That's it. That was it.
Yeah. Once again, everybody's freaking out, and I see St. Louis never to hesitate as back to mandatory masks indoors and it all functions. So.
Oh, see, I never go there, so it
same. Doesn't affect me. And even if I did, I wouldn't listen anyways.
Well, same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, if people still think that a mask is going to stop anything, that's adorable.
Well, seriously, we could talk about the science behind that, but
yeah.
I'm sure everybody already knows it by now. I think it's interesting, like, as it relates to self-defense, like, what's the saying when I'm going to butcher this, when somebody's at the door, police are only minutes away. How does that,
when seconds count, the police are minutes away.
Yes, thank you. So, and the premise of that concept is that you're responsible for your own safety.
Yeah.
And that applies to your health too. Like, you can't outsource people are fine with doing that, and that's why we're here, but they've outsourced their authority and their sovereignty over their own bodies just because somebody in a white lab coat said something.
Yeah, hope it was worth it. Doesn't seem to be, because everybody's still sick. Yeah, we've had like half our staff is down, but everybody's it seems to be just a common cold. Everybody's got sinuses stopped up and a little bit of a cough, but that's really it.
Yeah.
But it's also that time of the year. I mean, what I think is one of the causes here is it went from the day before Christmas I rode here, it was in the 60s.
Yeah, it was nice.
So in a week and a half, we went from 60s and 70s to today's high is 20.
Right now it's 14, I think.
Yeah. So that might cause slight issues and why people are getting sick as well.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily just the cold. Like, our bodies, we talked, I think it was it last week or the week before, we talked about cold exposure. Like, it's actually really good for you. Not for prolonged periods of time, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's good for you. I think it's more the lack of vitamin D from the sun.
Probably. I refuse to believe the cold is good for you, though. It's cold.
It's uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable.
But, sometimes our bodies respond. How do I put this? They respond well to, and by they I mean your cells, they respond well to challenges.
Austere environments.
Oh.
Yeah, fancy words.
Nice.
Basically, the only way you can keep developing your body is to push it. You don't ever... Well, it's the same thing. You don't grow muscles by not using them. You have to push it and exceed and break them down. So I guess the rest of the body works the same way. You have to push it to get somewhere.
Make yourself uncomfortable, perhaps.
Yeah, until you push the point like me where you push yourself uncomfortable so many times that even when you're not pushing yourself, you're still uncomfortable all the time. Says my knees that sound like a box of Rice Krispies as I walk around.
Oh, you got to eat some... there's a solution for that. This is not a nutrition show, so let's continue.
Yeah, so that's going on. Past that, there, thank God, hasn't been much in the news in the way of firearms or guns. Once again, makes me suspicious because when everything goes quiet like that, it's a little weird. So I was going to talk about a few things today, one of them being if you home defense and conceal and carry, some accessories and gear you might want to have in mind when setting up your firearm for whatever role it's going to have. Your home defense setup, you may have or not have certain things that your conceal and carry wouldn't, because, obviously at home you're not worried about concealing it and carrying it on you. So you can go a little bit bigger, more gear, more attachments, stuff like that. And some things you might want to have on you, more equipment outside of the firearm, daily and at home, and just stuff like that. Gear's always fun. It's always fun to have stuff and things and gear, and I don't know why. It's just maybe it's a guy thing, but it's all that gear and equipment and battle belts and plate carriers and helmet setups. It's just fun to have.
Is this something that you're going to be popping on if it's not going to happen? Somebody comes knocking on your door,
Some of it, yes. You have time, if I have my helmet set up correctly, once it's all said and done, it would take seconds to just grab it, plop it on my head, and pop my NVGs on. The only problem is I keep enough lights on in my house that, it's unnecessary. I was telling my wife I wish I had a kill switch in my bedroom to where I could hit that. In the house? Yeah, and it shuts off everything. Then I would have the advantage there.
As long as your family knows what's going on also.
Yes. Well, they'd be asleep. They're not waking up for that. Both my kid and my wife. I could have a raging gunfight in the living room, and they probably both would not wake up.
Ugh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, same. Somebody breathes weird, and I'm up.
Yep, me too.
But we'll start with, I guess, your conceal and carry. So, you, for example, you carry a .38, so what, a 6-shot revolver? Uh-huh. So you are somewhat limited on what attachments you can have.
Yeah.
You can change out grips and maybe get a Crimson Trace laser grip, and that's about it. As far as I'm aware, there is not holsters and red dot attachments for most revolvers these days, especially something like snub nose or something short that you'd carry. So typically, I've got to get a holster made, but my current setup, Sig Sauer P365 XL, which is a little subcompact 9mm. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's real tiny, but you still get a good, firm, full grip on it. And I've currently got a Hollow Sun red dot sight, X-ray night sights for backup, although you have to take the rear sight off to mount the red dot on it. Kind of bugged me at first, except the red dot that's made for it has a rear sight built into the red dot. So if your optic dies or breaks, you can still use iron sights through it.
I see.
And then once I get the holster made, I have a Streamlight TLR7 flashlight. I'm not one for lasers. That's one where a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, if they have one of lasers, the first thing they want to get. When I taught pistol classes, one thing I immediately noticed is we had a couple that showed up to every single class, and they showed up and they had lasers on all their pistols. And I watched their shooting go from they were pretty competent shooters to absolute trash in one class. Huh. And I kept paying more attention to them to see what the issue was. And what I noticed, and I've noticed this with multiple shooters, not just them, so it wasn't just a random occurrence. A lot of people who run lasers on their guns, it's a cool device. Yes, you don't have to aim. It's faster, especially for a target on the move or something. Although if something's on the move, you probably shouldn't be shooting at it because it hopefully means they're going away. But they're great for that. But more often than not, people concentrate so much on the laser that they stop practicing and thinking and using the fundamentals. And what was happening is, no listener can see this, but they were taking their correct shooting stance. And all of a sudden, as the evening progressed with them using their laser, by the time they were halfway through the class, they had their gun what I would consider only like halfway up. It's kind of hard to explain over the radio, but basically, instead of bringing the gun up in front of their eyes and using their eyes to sight through, they had it like chin level, maybe a little lower, like shoulder level, and were focusing not on their target, not on their trigger control, not on pressure, not on what was going on.
They were only looking at where the laser was.
Just the laser. And they'd have the laser dead on target, and they'd fire, and it would hit 6 inches away. And they were convinced, well, my laser's off. So they'd give it to me, I'd fire real quick, and it's dead on. Problem was, I wasn't even using the laser. I'm using the sights, and I'm just firing in one spot. Laser was dead on. But they were so concentrated on that laser, they were smashing on the trigger, just absolutely jerking it. They had improper grip because they weren't thinking about that. They didn't have a correct stance, correct grip. Everything was wrong because they were too focused on the laser. Now, there's people who don't do that and still keep up and shoot the way they should with a laser. And I'm sure there's a time and a place for it, but from what I've seen, more often than not, it ends up giving people bad habits to develop. So in my mind, if you're looking or considering getting a laser on your gun, I'd suggest not doing it. I would rather have a good set of night sights, or even just standard sights, still better than a laser. Very little benefit, but more often than not teaches you bad habits.
This is so disappointing. You got me up and then went down again. I know. I was like, oh, yeah, this sounds great. And the exact issue that you just mentioned would probably be my issue.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a laser's like the first thing they want to get. It looks cool. You pick it up, and there's this cool laser beam coming out of the gun, and you can track targets and stuff. And one of the laser companies had this video that just got everybody amped, and it was like a lateral target moving back and forth, and it was moving at a pretty high rate of speed, and this guy does this obnoxious drill where he like dramatically falls down, draws from laying on his back, and engages this running target accurately using his laser. It's like, that looks really cool. I don't know when you'd ever have that scenario happen to you.
Only in your dreams.
Again, you can also do that just by simply using your sights and having good fundamentals. All the attachments and high-speed ninja stuff looks cool, but it all still boils down to using the fundamentals. Everything else is just extra to help out.
So what I hear you saying is totally get one after you're very confident without one.
Yeah, and even then, I still don't see the benefit, because another argument is, I'll point my gun at someone, and as soon as they see the laser hit their chest, it'll change their mind. If you're pointing a gun at someone and not intending to shoot them, you probably shouldn't be pointing the gun at them.
No one's looking at their own chest.
Yeah, and no one goes and walks around and, nope, there's a laser on my chest now. Something's wrong. No, they're not going to see that.
Well, and the biggest mistake is expecting unreasonable people to do reasonable things.
Yeah.
Like, make that if they somehow came to the conclusion that, oh, look, I'm in someone's scopes.
Yeah, I suddenly no longer want to be a threat simply because there's a laser on my chest.
Right. I feel like that falls under the fallacy of if you have a shotgun at home and you cock it.
Yeah, just simply working the action. Right. The sound of the 12 gauge will get them to run away.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure in some cases, that's happened. Like, okay, somebody's awake, I'm leaving. Or I'm going to open fire through the wall and shoot it the direction that sound came from. So now you just gave away your position and that you have a firearm.
Right. Well, and it's the whole concept of, like, if somebody's there to, like, break into your house or steal stuff or God knows what.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something you or I would ever do. So it's hard to put ourselves in the mindset of somebody who,
isn't a good person.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem doing it.
Breaking into people's houses?
No. I mean, it's been a while, but no, putting myself in that mindset.
Oh, yeah.
Man, we already have to take a break. That was quick. We'll be right back, continuing to talk about breaking into people's houses right after this break.
Am I the only one here tonight, shaking my head and thinking something ain't? Am I the only one willing to bleed?
All right, we are back after that quick little break, and we are talking about how to set up your conceal and carry or home defense weapon, what you should have on it, what you shouldn't have. We finished up talking about the uselessness and bad habit teachings of lasers, so I'm sure I crushed some dreams and upset some people on that one.
I'm one of them.
Sorry, I have that effect on people. Good thing to have, pistol light. Downfall is then you have to find a holster for it, so that can add a new level of complexity, or in your case, you're just SOL, as there is no way to mount a flashlight on a revolver as far as I'm aware. Personally, I feel like you should have a flashlight on you as well as mounted on your weapon. It's nice because you basically blind the person you're pointing the firearm at, but also if you are clearing out your rooms or something like that, or you think someone's in your house, it gives you opportunity to see inside the room as you're clearing it out and clearly see your target and see if it engages a threat. Because if there's an intruder in my house and I point a gun at them and I can't see and I just fire, might be no threat. Now, I think with Castle Doctrine, they're still in your house, so still firing for self-defense. But me personally, if they don't have a weapon, I really don't want to shoot them in my own house. I really want that to be a last-ditch effort. So
Not me. I'm blasting. You
don't
belong there, and you know it.
I don't want to deal with the legal fees. Now, I'm going to whoop you. Like, you're going to be leaving there busted up pretty bad. But I just prefer not to shoot someone unless I absolutely have to. So I like the flashlight ability, too, to be able to watch their hands, pick up a weapon, see what they're doing, see who it is. Also, how do you know it's not just the neighbor who walked in your house drunk? It gives you that extra little second to identify your target before you decide to, yep, this is a bad guy and engage.
Did you read the post? It was, can't remember which page it was from. It was a screenshot of somebody, a comment from somebody on Reddit who said that they loaded the first two shots with blanks just in case. It was a family member or a neighbor. This person was not informed at all and too scared to, honestly, they shouldn't own a weapon. But
wow.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, what if it's a bad guy with a gun?
Well, hope you can click really fast to get to the real bullet.
Not fast enough. That sounds horrible. Also, blanks still can be lethal.
That's true. Whoa. Is that an Alec Baldwin question?
His wasn't blanks. No, that's one thing we were taught was when we did blank fire training, you have the blank firing adapter on so your weapon can cycle, but we totally did not put cleaning rods down the barrel and fire them off and see what happened, and it still comes out with some force. There can still be junk, parts of powder, jacketing, whatever in the barrel and still come out and do some damage.
Yeah, I'm not trusting those with anything.
No, and again, you're trusting that you correctly loaded or downloaded the same way every time and not changed it up. So, again, it goes back to the basic safety rules. Never point a weapon at anything you do not intend to destroy.
And if you're in my house, I'm destroying you.
Exactly.
And
so there's no reason in having blanks if you don't intend on destroying it, because then you're not destroying, you're just trying to scare, which then can also go very badly for you.
Right.
That's a horrible idea.
This is a very, very last line of defense. And maybe my approach is different because I'm a woman, but I assume like if you're in my house, I feel like that's, I mean, everybody does. That's a violation.
Yeah.
That's clear boundary violation, and I just feel more vulnerable, like physically, and that's going to be the equalizer.
No, it's understandable.
As it should be.
And again, having the firearm is your advantage, and to kind of neuter that advantage by putting blanks in there as the first few rounds. Totally. Not to mention, too, more often than not, blanks can cause a malfunction because they won't cycle properly because it's not the right charge for the recoil spring. So now you've purposely set up your weapon to induce a malfunction in a horrible scenario that you do not want to have a malfunction. So that'd be my other issue with it. Yeah. So I would say blanks, a no-go. Same with, I've heard people, I put snake shot. I don't know if you've ever seen those. I think CCI makes it. They have like snake shot 9mm rounds.
How's that different than bird shot?
So bird shot's for shotguns,
right?
But they make little 9mm shells where it's a little tiny capsule with little like tiny shot, like turning your 9mm into a baby shotgun basically. And it's for people who live on like ranches and stuff to kill snakes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not theoretically not going to kill someone. It's just going to hurt. And I've heard people say, "Oh, I got a snake shot in mine." That's stupid too. You're not shooting someone with the intent on killing them. You're only firing till the threat is no longer posed a threat to you, whether that be 1 round or 20 rounds. But when you're specifically just trying to wound someone, that opens up a whole can of worms and leaves you open to a lot of explaining to do in court. Also, it just puts you at risk because then you're mildly annoying someone instead of stopping the threat. So, right. Again, you're defeating the purpose of having a firearm by not stopping the threat and instead just upsetting and angering the threat, which is slightly counterproductive. We have to take another break already. This seems to be going awfully fast. Like to take a real quick second to thank our sponsors, Whip Machine. If you are looking for budget-friendly suppressors that you decided you want to go down that route, but you don't want to spend an arm and a leg and a quarter of a toe, check out Whip Machine suppressors. You can go to whipmachine.com or shop.TacticalSht.Official, except spelled the right way.com, and Wit Suppressors. Check them out. One of the quietest suppressors on the market for half the cost of everybody else. They are a fantastic product. Go check them out, guys. We'll be right back after this break to talk about more cool gun attachments.
Through the land of the lost, who sees it as it is and worries about his kids as they try to undo all the things he did. Am I the only one who can't take no more? Not the only one.
We are back. You are listening to Shots Fired on Real Talk 93.3, the voice of freedom. I am the host, at least for today, Alex Down Death Milberg, and I'm here with Krystal. It's going to stick eventually.
Okay.
We need to come up with a better nickname, though. That's way too easy. So, moved on from lasers. I'm talking about not using blanks or snake shot in your gun. Flashlights is a big one. Weapon-mounted lights. Whether you choose for... This is a crossover between conceal and carry and home defense. I think both should have it. Also, I like that an emergency situation or something, if you're in a mass casualty event or, any sort of scenario, you can always pop the light off the pistol and use it as an extra flashlight. But, I don't know, it's almost a security thing for me, too. I like all my weapons to have flashlights. Like precision rifles and stuff, there's no point to it. But anything for close up, I like having a flashlight on. It can be blinding. It can be distracting. Gives you a little bit of advantage, an extra second. I like to clearly identify my target before I engage. I've had enough training that I know in CQB or any close quarters battle, anything close up, anything close and personal, I like that warm and fuzzy of knowing that I have to engage that person before I engage. And I'm using the light to see their hands. That's really what I'm wanting to do.
What do you think about the concept of the light giving your position away?
Me popping out with a gun gives my position away.
So if it's like dark-ish.
I know my skill level that I would hope, at least still to this day, I'm faster than the average criminal. And, I mean, yes, you sacrifice that, but at the same time, if you're going that route, you're committed to popping out, exposing yourself, confronting the enemy head on anyways. So you're going to face that threat regardless. Now, that's a whole other show we could get into, is proper use of cover around corners, pieing off rooms, minimizing how much of yourself you expose. You don't need to pop out in front of them and go, aha. Being around a corner, pieing a room. And the easiest way to explain a pie is when you pie off a room, is what it's called. You are standing in the doorway, and without actually breaching the entrance of the room, you are trying to see as much of the room as possible before you go in it. So what you're doing is, before you go into the unknown, you're making as much of that room known to you and what's in it as possible, so you've narrowed down where the threat could be. If you're able to see 3/4 of that room before you step a foot in it, just by hitting different angles before you go in, then you're able to know for a fact, okay, if someone is in here, he is in this corner, and that's it. So you don't have to worry about that corner because you've already checked it, if that makes sense.
Totally. This is like the parent equivalent of seeing if your kid's still napping.
Yes, I have done that before, and you're like sneaking in. You want to see them, and they don't see you. There is some really, really good videos on how to properly pie off a room from, for anybody listening, check out Ronin Tactical and Fieldcraft Survival. Mike Glover over there, he's a former SF guy. Ronin, I think he was one of the SEALs. Fantastic work on footwork and body placement and angles on before you even enter a room. There's a lot to clearing rooms before you even clear the room. Approach, weapons handling, stacking on the door, entering a door, pieing things off. There's a whole bunch of terminology with it as well that I could go multiple radio shows with. But check out those videos for a real good warm and fuzzy and basic glow down dirty on how to do it. Again, which is where a flashlight comes in handy because it exposes more of that room. Also, another benefit I like is it casts shadows. So if somebody's trying to take partial cover behind something, it'll cast that shadow, and you can see movement. You can see their shadow behind stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've just found in many different scenarios, a white has served me very well. Another one. This is big for me because I was very anti this at first. Red dots on pistols. I was huge, old school Marine Corps optics and gear and equipment. Canon will fail. Good old iron sights is what you should have to rely on. I still feel that way. However, why not embrace technology and the current advances? There is no denying red dots are faster. Red dots on pistols are stupid fast.
And by red dot, you mean there's a red dot on the sights?
Yes. So it is a little tiny sight that sits on top of the slide, and it's a laser emitter inside it, and it projects onto the glass, and it puts a red dot on a piece of glass. Basically, anything you point that red dot on, as soon as you have it on there, one-sighted in, you'll hit it. So instead of having to line up your front sight in between your rear sight and get a clear sight picture, put dot on target, pull trigger, go bang, hit target. It's that easy.
So if you're looking for a laser, get a red dot. Yes,
hands down. Now, unfortunately, once again, with your revolver, you're SOL.
Yeah.
There's some options with that, but it's usually like full-size hunting revolvers. There is people who will use revolvers for alternative methods where you can't use a rifle, and they'll use it for deer hunting or like up in the northern states, they'll use it as a backup for in case there's bear.
I was going to say, this seems a little not ghetto, more like
hunting oriented. Yeah, and it's huge revolvers, like full-size 6 and 8-inch barrels, something I've not seen with the red dot. But like my Sig Sauer P365 XL has a red dot and a flashlight on it. It is a great, useful tool. I'm pretty fast with irons, but with very little training with the red dot, I'm already significantly faster with that red dot.
Interesting.
It's just a nice little cheater to have. But again, it doesn't teach you bad habits. You still have to apply all the fundamentals, which is another reason I like it.
Right.
Same with if you're using a carbine or a rifle, like an AR-15 for home defense. I know there's probably people listening, why would you ever use an AR-15 for home defense? Well, in many situations, less over-penetration issues than a handgun, such as a 9mm. And there's a reason the military and special forces and SWAT teams, not just the military, but even SWAT teams, use rifles inside houses and for close quarter stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's good enough for them. It's good enough for me.
It's a fantastic option. You're looking at 30 rounds instead of 15 to 17.
Especially in the case of, for example, this is, in theory, a home invasion with multiple people.
Which we've been seeing more and more of lately, where it's 2 and 3 and 5 attackers. I'm not going to get into instances, but I have personally seen where 2, 4, 6, 10 rounds does not stop someone every time. I have seen people get up and still move around after 15 rounds. It happens. It happens more than people think. The human body is an amazing tool, and it knows when it's been hurt, and it will do everything in its power to keep you alive, including trying to shut off where the bleeding's coming from. It's seriously impressive, and people can take a lot more damage than they think. So, again, not to even mention for maneuverability and ease of use, AR is way easier to be proficient with than a handgun. Handguns take a lot of skill, a lot of practice. Rifles are very, very easy. So, again, I like red dots on rifles as well. I like pistols for conceal and carry. Obviously, you can't really easily conceal and carry a rifle. But I thoroughly like rifles for home defense. That's my go-to is 8-inch 300 Blackout. It is a fantastic round. It's suppressed. It's quiet. Over-penetration is an issue with the right ammo, and it hits like a ton of bricks. Let's see what else. Suppressors. Since we talked about whip machine, a little bit harder on conceal and carry due to holster issues and just pure length. If you have a...
That's what she said.
Oh, that was good. I completely missed my opportunity there. I'm disappointed in myself. Suppressors are fantastic. I am now a suppressor snob, and when I hear some peasant shooting loud with no suppressor, I look down upon them. Not really. It's just I have
It's me. I'm peasant.
I have severe hearing damage to the point where, like, you know that unique things toddlers can do where you can scream at a tone that isn't even human?
Yes, I do.
It puts me in physical pain. Like, I have so much hearing damage, it legitimately hurts me. And then my tinnitus acts up, and I just hear in my ear for like 2 hours straight.
The Marines are calling.
Oh, yeah.
Just about every Marine I know has tinnitus.
Yeah. Well, I came back from a field op one day with blood streaming out of my ears. It was that bad. Like blood and pink gel. It's bad. Yeah.
Are you okay?
No. So, suppressors are nice for that. Also, they don't deafen everyone else. Conceal and carry, it's not exactly practical due to the additional length it adds to your firearm. You're usually looking at least 4 to 6 inches. That's what she said, in additional length. And that's just not practical to carry inside the waistband or concealed. However, in your house, it doesn't matter. And having, especially if you have a long gun, carbine, rifle, AR, whatever you want to call it, with one is very nice to have. Also, it helps with the flash and everything too. So if you do keep your house very dark, you're not going to lose your natural eyesight in the dark as bad as you will without a suppressor. It helps with that flash. Definitely helps with the noise. My joke is I can defend my house and not even wake up my toddler if I have to. I like that ability. Plus, it's just fun. You feel like one of the guys off the SEAL team show on on TV where you're just shooting and it's all super quiet and stuff. It's just fun.
I feel like that's the general idea that the public has about suppressors, that they're all about assassinating silently, and that's why the only reason why you would have one. But you brought up a really good point. Like, they are loud. That does have, like, especially if you go to the range or
you ever fired in a small room, a firearm?
Oh, no,
that's
is deafening.
Or a vehicle. Oh, vehicle. I luckily have not done it in a very long time, but firing inside a small room or a vehicle is beyond painful. It's like getting smacked. You ever had somebody come up to you and clap your ears from either side? It's like that and getting punched in the nose at the same time. It's not a fun experience. So anytime you can minimize the own damage you do to yourself, the better. Because also, if you're not used to it, or even if you are, that can take you out of the game too. So you have to be prepared for that, where you may discharging your own weapon indoors. You've never done it before. Please don't go try to build up a tolerance and start popping off rounds in your house to try to get used to it.
Well, plus I feel like for the people who do, practice, they go to the range, I assume, always have ear pro at the range, and so they're not used to hearing what it sounds like.
I actually, when I go, especially indoor ranges, I have to wear earmuffs and foamies because it's literally painful to me to be in an indoor range. There's a lot of equipment we can go on. I can touch on this all day long because it depends on how Gucci you want to get. We've got to take another break. I want to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors, Precision Fitness and Spa over in Creve Coeur. If you're wanting to make sure that not only you have your gear right, but your body right as well, want to get in shape, time to start the new year correctly by losing a couple extra winter weight pounds, or you just want to get your beach body ready for Mexico during the winter, though I wouldn't suggest it after what we've been hearing lately. Or you just want to look good, go ahead and check out our friends over at Precision Fitness. Great group of people over there. Past that, they do all the fancy, pretty stuff, the Botox and lip injections and eyebrow stuff and things, and the wax your mustache off and all kinds of cool stuff like that.
Why were you looking at me when you said that? I'm kidding.
No comment. That'd be messed up. The mustache. So go check them out, guys. A great group of people over there. We'll be right back after this break.
Still holding on, holding back my tears for the ones who paid with the lives they gave. God bless the USA. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
All right, we are back, and this is our last segment of the day. Saturday. It's actually Thursday for us. I'm hoping the people I'm talking to Saturday are a little bit warmer than it is here, because it sucks here today. It's like a whopping 18 degrees out, 16 degrees out right now.
It was 14 when I left my house.
Yeah, I'm not built for this climate at all.
I'm pretty sure I'm fully acclimated.
That's impressive, because you've been from LA to here in less than a year and you're acclimated already. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm still not acclimated to this yet. Excuse me. So we were talking about home defense and conceal and carry setups. No on lasers. Yes on lights. Yes on red dots. Hell yeah on suppressors, because they're just fun. Some other gear, though. One, and again, this doesn't apply to females. We are working on some stuff for females. And in fact, I need to reach out to my vendor and see where that stuff is that I ordered. Something as stupid and simple as a solid belt. I personally, I legitimately cannot leave the house if I'm wearing jeans or pants and not have a belt on. I can't. It feels like I'm, that feeling when you forget your wallet or your phone? It feels like that for me. I literally cannot walk out of the house without a belt.
You always wear belts?
Yes. I mean, unless I'm wearing track pants or sweatpants to the gym or something is the only time.
So awesome if you wore belts with track pants.
I actually have joggers that are made by Arrowhead Tactical. that have a belt.
Okay, Mr. Fancy.
Yeah, it's specifically made by a pro gun guy who did, and now he's got sweatpants and joggers and workout shorts that have a gun belt inside, magnetic gun belts, so you can carry in your sweats and your track pants and joggers and shorts.
See, that's one of the few unisex items that I would totally. Well, it's not unisex; it's just for guys. That I would.
No,
like
it's
I
pretty,
would steal
it's
my
pretty
husband.
unisex. We have them at the shop. Again, you have yet to be there, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. But, I mean, a simple gun belt. What is fancy about a quote-unquote gun belt over a regular belt? Well, I will tell you, most of them have inserts when it comes to a gun belt. You know, your typical leather belt, after a while, it stretches. It doesn't retain its rigidity. It has a lot of give to it. You really have to cinch it down.
That's what she said.
I was even like specifically wording it so it couldn't go there.
I know. I was reading what you were trying to write, and
I saw that coming. That's also what she said.
It was too easy.
So a lot with the gun belts. Most of them are nylon. They do have leather, but they usually do a polymer insert in the middle of the belt to keep it stiff. So. This is how we're still in the air is beyond me. So they'll do that specifically, and it doesn't stretch over time. It doesn't wear out. It retains its rigidity, so you can keep a gun there. Because after a while, even a small gun, that's a lot of weight pulling on a small section.
Right.
And if you've ever worn a gun inside the waistband and your belt stretches out, and it becomes beyond distracting. It is very frustrating and annoying. So gun belts are optimized for that extra weight. They're a little bit stiffer. They usually have more adjustment instead of having just the holes like your standard leather belt. It's either a ratcheting system or a Cobra buckle style where it's the male end. You can adjust the tension by pulling it, and it's kind of like a seat belt. Those work fantastic as well. So having a good belt makes a huge difference as well. For conceal and carry, that should be every part of your gear. Both in your car and in your house. I know we've beaten this to death, so I'm just going to touch on it. A medical kit. You know, you definitely should have some medical equipment at home. You know, especially if you have kids, your kid falls, gets hurt, falls out of their jungle gym, gets burned, something. Or, you know, you have a home intruder, you go to defend your home, you get sliced, you get cut, you get shot too. We know that sometimes EMS still takes a few minutes, especially if you live in a rural area. You might have to be able to apply some first aid on yourself or a family member before EMS gets there and is able to patch you up.
Do you guys sell medical kits?
We do. And not only medical kits, but we have all the individual pieces so you can build out your own.
Well, that's good.
So if you don't know what to have, we have everything, and we have a lot of very qualified guys who can point you in the right direction, who've done this for many, many years. Also, I'm not sure when, but we'll have a date on the book soon where we're going to have a Navy SEAL doc or a corpsman come out and teach an advanced medical class. This kid has been to every single medical course the military has to offer. He's interned at like Chicago level 3 trauma centers, and LAPD sends them to trauma centers to learn gunshot stuff.
You had me at Chicago.
Chicago, Fallujah, pretty similar. So he is a wealth of knowledge for that, but that's again something for, a lot of people, and I need to get better about this and start doing it. Even wear tourniquets on their belt. They make little tourniquet holders for your belt, where, and cheap trick if you don't want to spend a lot of money, go get a bicycle inner tube, cut out a 2-inch section, run your belt through that. You not only have a tourniquet holder for your belt, but you also have a spare magazine pouch on your belt. It's horizontal, so it's real low profile.
Trendsetter.
Pro tip right there. What other gadgets and stuff? For conceal and carry, I like to keep it mostly simple. A simple red dot and a flashlight. If you're not into the dot or you don't have a pistol that has that ability, I highly recommend night sights. Personally, I like something like Trugo. It's called the TFX Pro. They're tritium and fiber optic. Tritium, for those of you who don't know, is basically a material that glows in the dark. Yeah, bioluminescent. It charges under any light, even normal lamps or lights in your home, and it charges, and then when it's dark, the sights actually glow in the dark. You can get just straight up night sights. The problem I have with those is usually they don't line up that great during the day, at least for me. The TFOs or TFXs have tritium, but they're also fiber optic. So during the day, those fiber optic rods, super bright, line up super fast to pick up. But at night, they glow extremely bright. Those are great too. If you're not ready to do the red dot, you can see your sights even under low light conditions in the dark. And then during the day, they're real bright and fast and easy to pick up as well. So, you never know if you're going to be getting jumped in a parking lot at midnight or coming out of work in the graveyard shift or in the middle of the day. It would suck to have something happen in the middle of the night and you have a firearm that doesn't have night sights and you have your gun, but you can't really see your sights.
Right.
Which, again, doing just shooting by feel and muscle memory helps. But in some situations, if you haven't had that level of training, kind of want to be able to see your sights. So that's something to take in consideration as well. Also, spare magazines. Again, preaching to the choir on this one, but I need to listen to my own advice. Like I said previously, sometimes it takes a lot more rounds to stop the threat than people think. And being limited to one magazine, especially if you have a smaller capacity gun like a Ruger LCP or LC9 where you're looking at less than 10 rounds, you got multiple threats and it takes multiple rounds to put down each threat. My math isn't the greatest, but you will run out of ammo before you stop all the threats. So carry at least one extra spare magazine. 2 is a little excessive, but whatever floats your boat. We now sell a lot of different pants that have magazine pockets specifically built in them.
Interesting.
I can special order stuff for females, but for males, we have blue jeans that don't scream tactical, that are really comfortable and look fantastic, that have like 6 hidden magazine pockets.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Let's get on that
The
female version of that. I would totally
work
buy those.
Vertex. That's who I'm going to be working on at SHOT Show. Vertex has like normal looking women's clothing that has all that stuff built in.
That's really cool.
We're out of time already. I feel like this one went pretty good. Covered some bases here. We will be back. We got one more show without TJ. It'll be just me and Krystal, and then Sig Glockenspiel will be back in the next couple weeks to do his thing, so you don't have to hear me the whole time. We will see you guys later. Have a great Saturday. This was Shots Fired on Real Talk 93.3. Take it easy, guys.
I love my country. I love my guns. I love my family. I love the way it is now. And anybody that tries to change it has to come through me. That should be all of our attitudes. This is America, and a country boy's good enough for me, son.